if you're in the Air Force, you've probably had a chance to see the note from our Chief of Staff, General Goldfein, that laid out what he wants us to do on this day. And we took that note and those materials and we turned them down to our commanders at the Numbered Air Force and to our wing commanders and wing command chiefs. And ultimately, like Chief Goldfein said, we want wings to have the freedom to organize this in the way that they see fit. The overall idea is that the leading cause of death of airmen across the Air Force is suicide. Now, if you look at our country as a whole and you look at the same demographics that we have, the leading cause of death for population in the same kind of age group that we work, suicide is the number 2 cause, surpassed only by accidents. We've done better at driving down our accident rate by paying attention to it, by focusing on it, by providing tools for commanders to use. And we've done the same thing over the years for our suicide issues, but the overall goal is for all of us to take a step back, to look at the numbers, to recognize that suicide is the number 1 killer of airmen in the Air Force, and then to try to get your ideas on things that we might do to fix it. I've had some ideas coming in. Some of them are to make sure we have more mental health providers and that we have more resources out there. I'll tell you that is something that we're working on. We've done some experiments with providing both traditional health care providers, chaplains, and mental health providers out in our units. We've done that through a protection of the force and family programs in our special ops, special warfare units. We've done that in our ISR units, particularly in our distributed common ground systems, and we think those have produced good results. And then across the Air Force, we're looking at some programs like Task Force True North that are designed to get more people out there into units and make it easier for you to look for help. I'm going to go ahead and talk about this one a minute because it's on all of our minds. In Air Combat Command, we've talked about some steps for resiliency. We've talked about comprehensive airman fitness as relying on 4 different components: on physical fitness, on kind of mental health and mental fitness, on spiritual fitness, and on social fitness. And what we mean is that we think if you're physically fit, if you're connected into some values that motivate you and something you can fall back on when times are tough, if you're connected into a larger network, that all those things are a part of our mental health. Last year, we talked some about 4 contributions to well-being or wellness, and I've talked about moving, refreshing, nourishing, and connecting. And those kind of relate back pretty closely to those 4 components of comprehensive airman fitness. If I move some, if I do some physical training, that contributes to my wellness. If I take some rest and some time off, that also contributes. It helps me refresh. If I think about how I nourish myself, both my body and my mind, the things I eat, the values I fall back on, that also gives me some strength and resilience. And then finally, and probably most importantly, is that connection, being connected into a larger social group, into a community. I believe all those things can make us stronger. They can make us more resilient. But when it comes down to the day that an airman or an airman's family member is considering taking their own life, we're past that resilience and we're crossing over into mental health issues. So, my message to you would be that I looked at some stats on people that seek mental health care. And there's people are afraid that if they seek mental health care in the Air Force, that it'll reflect back on their supervisor, that it'll affect their career. Here's some stats I want to share with you. If you go see a mental health care provider without being referred by anyone, by your commander or anybody else, there's a 1 in 10 chance that health care provider will talk back to your supervisor or your commander. That means 90% of the time, if you go and ask for some help, you're able to get that help and no one ever even knows about it, particularly if you go early. If you go when you're kind of showing those first signs or you first notice that you might need some help. If you're referred by a commander or if your commander asks you to go visit with mental health, then there's about a 1 in 4 chance that your commander will hear back from them. And 1 in 10, 1 in 4, those are things to think about, but ultimately the question is, will you do better as a result? And the last piece of information I'll share with you is that I've seen math that says you're 13 times more likely to have mental health implications on your career if you have a condition that you don't seek help for than you are if you have a condition that you go ask for help. So the question's not, hey, if I go to the mental health care provider, will it affect my career? The question is, if I'm struggling with things and I don't go to the mental health care provider, will it affect me? So we talk about resilience. There's a lot of good things out there, but I can exercise every day. I can try to eat the right things. I can try to take some vacation and refresh and be connected into a community, and all those things make me stronger. And yet, sometimes I get the flu. Sometimes I hurt my back. Sometimes I have to go seek health care, no matter how hard or how diligent I've been at those activities. If you get to the point that you're contemplating hurting yourself or hurting others, you're crossing over from resilience and you're not being weak. You're looking for help. So I encourage you to go look for that help. We'll practice resilience. We'll talk about how to do that, but take advantage of the opportunities that are out there and go seek help and do it early.